So Alex was the one that pointed you out and wanted to make sure that we connect. And so I've been looking through the Evolution Hockey website. I think it's really great what you guys are doing. Actually quite impressed with the amount of coaches that you've got. The business, as far as I can tell, seems to be doing great. So just curious, I think a good way to get started usually on a conversation like this is just kind of what is a day in the life look like for you running this business, running Evolution Hockey?
Oh man, that's don't know where to start. Day in the life. Well, I'm up early. I'm up anywhere between like 4:40 and 5 a.m. I got a little morning routine that I like to go through for myself personally. Once I get that done, I'm out the door. I go to the gym. I either lift, I swim, play tennis, squash. Yeah, do something like that in the morning, and then after that. It's usually around 8 a.m. by that time, and then kind of flip open the phone and see what's going on. Whether I have to check in with our managers or any of our coaches, or I might get a message from one of our players that we work with. Sometimes at this point, I'm flipping open CoachNow if there's nothing really coming in that's of note for things that I need to set up for the day with our staff or anything like that. And yeah, usually I got a bunch of messages from players or some of our other coaches that put a message on our players CoachNow accounts that I'll check in on and just see if there's anything that I want to add my 2 cents in there or help answer any questions or anything like that. And then kind of just go with the day. Sometimes I'm on the ice in the mornings after I work out, or sometimes I'm on the ice early evenings. And then I do a lot of scouting as well. So sometimes there's games in the evening that I'll go and check out. But yeah, during the days, generally just kind of, coach our coaches, coach our players, do a lot of clipping of video. So I watch a ton of NHL games. I have some NHL clients that I track very closely, and Western League clients, NCAA clients that I track and watch their games, see how things are going. I might send them a couple things that I see that maybe they need to work on a little bit more, or some things that I keep to myself, and I'll use it for off season when I see them when they come in for one-on-ones. So, when a hockey player comes in, it's, a little bit different than a golfer. You're probably only working with just that one person. But when it's a team, oftentimes in off-season training, it's the whole team on the ice, or anywhere from 10 to 15 skaters on the ice. But what I do during the season when I'm tracking them, when that player comes back to see me, we get on the ice just one-on-one or one-on-two, and we work on the things exactly what they need to work on, not what everybody else needs to work on. So during my day, it's just kind of a lot of planning ahead and a lot of clipping video, a lot of watching video. So that's kind of my best way to put a day in the life. Every day is a little bit different. But that's kind of generally what my days are like.
That's awesome. No, it's a great way to start, and it kind of leads me into asking some more questions here. That's perfect. Yeah, cool. So when I look at the way you're presenting Evolution Hockey, what I really like about it, and hopefully I'm correct in assessing this, is you're really hammering the skills side of things, and that message seems to come through to me, because I think that's where CoachNow really shines, is helping coaches like yourselves help individual athletes or small groups of athletes around their skills. It's not really around game film analysis and set pieces and things like that. It's more about the skill side. So curious how you landed on that, how you've built a business around it, how you've hired coaches. I know that's a big question, but maybe we can start with how you found your way in, or kind of landed in this niche of the skill side of hockey.
Timing is always a factor, and passion and love, I guess, is a factor as well. I guess rewind to the beginning. After I played hockey at 5 years at the University of Manitoba, and after I graduated, got my degree, it was like, okay, well, now what? What's next? I've two younger brothers, and they were kind of at the age of hockey where them and their buddies were starting to work out. So I actually started my business doing all off-ice training. So like strength and conditioning, lifting weights, working out, all that kind of stuff.
And okay.
I had about 12 guys between my brothers and a couple of their buddies and teammates. And then that quickly grew to, having over 50 athletes and working with all of them. And that eventually got to a point where it kind of, I don't want to say run its course, but I was never formally trained in the kinesiology. I did kind of all my own learning and certifications on my own. So I was never going to like be able to climb to any kind of professional team or any kind of level like that,
Right.
just because I
Like
didn't
sports
have
science
that.
or anything like that.
Yeah, I didn't have that background. I was all kind of just like self-educated. And when I was a player, I was very skilled, and I really prided myself on my conditioning and how good of shape I was in. And so
Got it.
naturally, I just learned a lot about how to do it, how to teach it. Not all like kind of the fluff in all the university courses, and
Sure.
nothing against the courses or anything, but like I just wanted to know what worked, why, and how I can apply it.
Yeah.
And so, anyways, after I finished as a player, I was asked to stay on with the team as an assistant coach. So I was doing workouts with the University of Manitoba in the gym, and I'd be on the ice with the guys working on, just some little skills. I was always a skilled, creative playmaking player, and so I had that ability. And the things that I was working on with the guys, they seemed to really like it and asking for more. And I started researching that a little bit more and kind of figured out, okay, well, nothing like this is going on anywhere. And, one thing kind of just kept leading to another, and more people were asking for on ice stuff, on ice skill development, liked what I was doing. And during that time, Hockey Canada decided to offer a skills coaches certification that's never been done before. So I applied
Oh,
for
cool.
that.
Okay.
Yeah, I applied for that. There was in the first year, I think there was 100 people that applied coast to coast, and I think they let 16 of us in, something like that. And so I went through that kind of process, and then I became the first Hockey Canada certified skills coach, which was pretty interesting.
Wow.
And then
And
the
how long
on
ago
ice
was
stuff
that?
kind of just, oh man, everything kind of just blends for me for time. I want to say maybe like 6, 7 years ago, something like
Okay,
that.
but relatively, I'm just trying to get a sense of how new this program is, and that's really new
Yeah. Yeah.
for how popular hockey is, obviously in Canada. To
Yeah, they kind
finally
of
introduce
just
that is a big deal.
said like, well, anyone can just start a hockey camp with like no anything. And so they're like, okay, let's
Right.
start to try and train and certified guys so that we can hopefully direct people to go to these programs that have been trained by us or certified by us. Um,
Yeah.
Things like that. And then, yeah, so that things just kept getting busier on the ice, and I have some good coaches that we refer to for off the ice, and it was just kind of time to merge or transfer the business from all off ice to all on ice, and basically just refer and sub out to all of our off ice training now. Um, and then it was just me doing the on ice stuff, and then had a couple employees or part time coaches, and then that led into full time, and both my brothers getting involved, and players that had went through my program that turned pro and played a little bit of pro and retired from that. They wanted to get into coaching, so kind of just kept growing and expanding. And
Yeah.
I always had the vision of like helping out at the grassroots level for many different reasons. Number one, I mean that's where the most players are, and number
Right.
two, if you can help people right from day one, your long term effect on that player is going to be far greater than when you get them at 16, 17 years old, where they likely already have bad movement habits or things like that. So
Yep.
I got involved with a couple hockey associations where I was working with them. I mean, there'd be about 400 or so kids that were kind of, I wouldn't directly be working with every single one of them, but within that whole association. So I'd be coaching the coaches on how to teach skills better, how to train skating a little bit better, puck control better. And then things just kept progressing. We got involved with a couple school programs where instead of kids going to just your normal regular phys ed class, they could come to our program, which was hockey. I'm sure
Wow.
there's a lot of things like that going on in the States. Yeah, and it just kept growing from there. At the end of the day, I just try and wake up and get a little bit better and try and make people better. And it all kind of works out. And more people want to keep training with us and kind of getting into the environment that we created. And now a lot of it, like I kind of mentioned earlier in my day to day, is like coaching our coaches and trying to be there for them as best as I can when they have questions or they want to learn, or if I send them clips or we want to talk about just anything, how to be a better coach, how to run things a little bit better, share ideas, because I learn from them as well.
Yeah,
It's not, I'm not the expert. I don't have all the answers. I'm trying to learn all the time too. And I learn from our coaches as well. So it's that's a lot of my time and job now. And the more people that I can help make better that are coaches, the more players that ultimately get better. The way I kind of look at it, I forget, someone said this in one of the coaching clinics that I went to, and it really stuck with me, that like I can coach 20 players or I can coach 20 coaches who coach 20 players. And that's
that's
a pretty
exactly right.
significant
Yeah.
impact. So yeah, so that's kind of where our business is at now, and some other things have come from that as well. But
No, that's beautiful. There's a lot to unpack there, Riley. A ton. So there's some good stuff in there for to kind of tease out for people listening to this, because they're coaches and trainers, and there's a lot to learn from somebody like yourself that just kind of had it snowball. It sounds like I'm sure there was some very tactical positioning and moving along the
yeah,
way, but some of it's just good timing, as you've said, and things just work out. You just get busy and you can't handle it. So there's a lot to talk about there. I think the thing that you kind of wrapped up with, though, is near and dear to my heart, and which is why I even created CoachNow. It's like, well, I could help a lot of athletes, sure, but there's only so many I can. What if we could help a lot of coaches help those athletes in all the different sports all around the world, right? That's kind of
yeah,
generally the mission statement here. Now, it goes a little further for me, is that I'm really passionate about the business side of coaching and making sure guys like yourself can have at least the tools and some education if they need it, to make sure they're not burning out. They're not just exchanging time for money, especially. That's the one that really kills me. And they have a successful business and lifestyle. That's the hope. So it sounds like you've got a lot of really positive things going. Maybe as we kind of circle back a little bit into the beginning of hiring people, it sounds like it was a really organic process, but for a lot of coaches listening, it's real scary. Like they freak out trying to hire somebody.
mm-hmm.
So if you can think back to that time and you're making those decisions, it sounded like these coaches were starting very part-time. Then as the demand grew, you brought them on full-time. Could you kind of just walk through the decision process, the mechanics of hiring people, and how you've maybe continued to add to the team? Because that's a real sticking point for a lot of coaches and academies.
Yeah, great question, great point. I will rewind a little bit too. That like I have turned
Yeah,
down a lot of work, and I think that's part of the
that's important.
growth factor. It's important
Yeah,
because I want to make sure that we're doing a good job. That's more important to me than to
yeah,
make the extra, whatever, by taking on a client or a
yep.
program or something. Because if you do a bad job, then I mean, word travels. This is a relationship business, and a lot of it is word of mouth. We actually don't advertise. I haven't spent any money on advertising, so it's all
That's
word of
music to
mouth.
my ears, because that's what I mostly tell every coach. It's like,
Yeah.
happy people bring you more happy people, and you don't need to advertise as long as you focus on retention. Like retention is the big one.
Yeah, and I mean we don't. I mean that's a great word. We don't even use really any words. It's just
No,
like
you
do a good
wouldn't.
job.
Yeah, you wouldn't use
Like
it. You
just
just do a good job and it's fine.
yeah.
It's fine.
And
Exactly.
and so like when you're hiring people, and again, kind of going back, I didn't want to name it our company Riley Dudar Coaching or Riley's Coaching or anything like that,
Yep.
because
You shouldn't, I
I
believe. Yep.
because I'm looking down the line and thinking, okay, like is everyone only going to think about me? Where it's not about me. There's a lot of great coaches out there, and if I can attract coaches that like our model, our philosophy, our system, our environment, our culture, everything that we've kind of built and created, and if we can get good coaches that want to be in our program, it really shouldn't be about me at all. And if you've been on our website, like I don't even know what my
Agreed.
job title is. It's nothing like it's nothing
Well,
fancy, and
and
I'm
on
kind of
one part
running.
it says player
I'm
development, another part it says founder. So yeah,
yeah,
I totally agree. Anytime coaches come to me and say, "What should I do?" or "What should I name it?" I said, "Well, don't name it after yourself if you can
yeah,
avoid it, unless you're super famous and everybody just wants to come to see you." But most of the time,
yeah.
that's not the case.
Which is yeah, it's but like now kind of where I'm at is like there's almost a personal brand for me as well, where like the
True.
NHL guys will want to reach out to me, like they don't even know what my business name is, probably they just know my
Yep.
name. um and so like there's kind of that personal brand of it, and like different teams, whether it's, in the Western League or in the USHL or down south that, want to work with me. They probably don't even know the name of our business. They've heard my name or whatever it is.
When the NHL guys and the really advanced players are reaching out, and we'll get back to the hiring because I just want to pick at this a little bit. What specifically is your niche? Like, what is making you such a high demand person in that sphere?
One, I think I have a very unique way of seeing the game. Like, I was a very creative, skilled hockey player, and that's the way I kind of view the game. It's not really that it's systematical or anything like that. And so the little things that I think are just kind of normal to me, they seem to really like, oh, I didn't think of it that way, or, oh, I didn't notice that. And just those little things that might make a massive, massive difference on someone's deal. Like, for example, I won't name names or anything, but when I play, and it's not just because of me, I want to be very clear that I'm part of the process. The player puts in the work and the time, and they apply the things that I'm teaching them, someone else is teaching them. So credit to the player. I'm just part of the process. But when they started with me, they were in the NHL making, I think, just under $3 million, and they just signed an 8-year deal for over $50 million. So you put a little bit of time and effort and energy into developing your own game and focusing on you. They're going to reap financial rewards from that. And so when you ask, like, what makes me unique, is like the little things that I've noticed in this player's game that we've worked on that they wouldn't have known on their own, and go out there and hammering it.
From a statistics standpoint, Riley, from a statistics standpoint, does it result in more assists, more goals? And forgive me, I'm no hockey expert. So what is the stats that it results in that warrant the larger contract, as an example, right? Because there's performance on the ice that gets you somewhere.
Yeah, those are kind of like the general fan statistics, like the goals, assists. But like the very important ones would be like zone exits. How often when you're on the ice can you go back and get the puck and get it out of your zone? How often when you're on the ice does the other team enter the zone with possession of the puck? How often do you get shots towards the net? How often, like, all those little things make a massive difference in a game that the average fan would never know. But a coach is like, I got to put this guy on the ice because every time he's on the ice, he's able to get the puck and get it out of the zone. And if the puck's not in your zone,
he's involved in the plays. He's moving things up and back, and he's showing more impact in the overall game, it sounds like. Yeah.
You got it. Or for like a first round NHL draft pick, they're projecting him down the line. So like they see a package of somebody of, okay, this guy's 6'4", this guy moves really well. In 3 years, maybe he's ready to step into our team. And so my job is, okay, I got to look at what this guy's attributes are. I got to look at where his strengths are. How do we make those strengths even better? Because he got here for a reason, or he got noticed, drafted for a reason. We got to make those even better. And where are some of the areas that he's a little bit deficient in? And we're not going to make those deficiencies all of a sudden his strengths, but if we can clean those up a little bit and maybe make them not as weak, I want to focus on what they're good at, because that's what they're going to continue to be good at. And so I like to look for high frequency plays. What happens most for you in a game? We're going to work on those, just making you very, very efficient at all of those movements. So yeah, that's to answer your question. But do you want me to get back to the hiring or the original?
Yeah, but I think it's important, because anybody listening to this, right? There's this blend as you grow your business of I struggle with it here at CoachNow, right? There's the CoachNow brand, there's the Spencer brand. So that's why I wanted to kind of dive into that a little bit, because a lot of coaches are struggling in that way to create the separation or the branding. So that was great. I'm just really happy to learn about that and know more. So yeah, as far as the hiring goes, super cool to understand a little bit more about that if you can.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, it's all about training your coaches. And so my first couple hires of coaches, they went through my program. Like, I've coached them. And so I was on my own for maybe a year or two before I brought somebody else in. And then kind of slowly, as they develop relationships with some of the players and they build some trust with the families or whoever it is that's paying for it, Slowly you can kind of allow them more freedom or more leeway to do some things on their own. Um, Hiring a manager was probably the best thing that I've done because it allows me to focus on what I'm good at and where my strengths are. My strengths aren't building a calendar or sales. I hate sales. I don't
Totally.
like any of that aspect of it. So getting someone to who likes that stuff, to take all that kind of off my plate so I can focus on what it is that I need to go on. And I remember, like, there's probably a lot of coaches out there and maybe even listening that are like, I don't know if I have the money to hire that manager. And I would say, like, just find a way to do something and just get it done, because when you get that done, your time and your mental capacity just opens up tremendously, and you'll find that money because you're no longer stressed about, oh shit, I gotta send an invoice to this guy or I gotta schedule this person.
Yeah.
You can focus on making players better, because at the end of the day, that's our job as a coach, is to make the players better. And sometimes it might be watching film, it might be reading. I read books that have nothing to do with hockey, but have to do with maybe communication, leadership, things like that, skill development, skill acquisition. Um, and it's just the conversations that I'm able to have with players or parents. Another person in my field might not be able to have a similar conversation because they haven't read anything about that. And so that makes me more unique, and that makes me better. And my time is spent on that. And you can get a manager focusing on, the business side and helping with all the administrative work.
No, it couldn't be a better response to everything. That's all the same stuff that I would preach as well. And for a lot of coaches out there that maybe can't afford it, this is the same advice I give to other technology founders as well. I just was talking to one a couple of days ago. And I'll just look at it a very large scheme of things. If you're a technology founder, you've got this really cool piece of tech and you want to raise some money, let's say, like most people try to pull off in the tech space. Venture capitalists or private equity groups aren't going to usually invest in one person, because that one person can't cover all the bases. It's not the beginnings of a real business. And it's the same in coaching. If you're just all by yourself, there's only so far you can go. But if you bring someone in as a co-founder or a partner, or in your case, the language would be a manager to help you run the business side of things, that's absolutely where you need to go so that you can bring on more coaches, bring on more clients, and you're more efficient. It's all music to my ears. So I'm really, really happy to hear that's been the evolution for you. And I think it's great advice for anybody listening. So let's
Or just adjust
talk
your
a little bit.
lifestyle. Just adjust
Yeah,
your
continue
lifestyle.
on that. I want to hear more about that. Yeah.
Yeah, like if you can't afford it, I mean, you don't need to pay someone $1 million right off the bat. Like, look, figure out what an entry level position may or may not be. And my first manager was someone fresh out of university in a sport management program, or a rec management program, and they were looking for an opportunity. I was looking for an opportunity. We were able to come up with a deal. And when you just adjust your lifestyle, if you don't have the money, like, you can easily save a little bit money on, maybe not as driving a nice of cars you think that you need to, or not going out to eat or to the bar, spending all your money on that kind of stuff, and save up for a few months. And then maybe you have a little chunk of change where you're like, okay, I'm going to make this investment into my business to pay this money to a manager instead of to the bar or wherever you're spending your
Yeah.
money, your extra expensive clothes or whatever it is that you need. I'm going to invest this money into my business to bring in someone who is going to free me up to do what I do best, which is going to bring in more revenue, and look at it that way too. So, like, I would just track your expenses for, like, where all your dollars are going. And you should be able to, if you're a decent coach, you should be able to free up a little bit of money that you can pay someone. They can start part-time for them as well. There might even be, say you're a tennis instructor or another hockey coach or whatever, you might have a family where there's a stay-at-home mom or dad that's looking for something to do part-time. You might really get along with them, and they might love doing that kind of stuff, and they might only want to work for 4, 5, 10 hours a week, and that might be all you need at the start to get you going. And then after that, you just kind of go from there.
Yeah. Epic advice. So yeah, absolutely. it doesn't have to be full-time. It can be contract. In some cases, I'm not saying this is the exact example, but there's lots of people all over the world that are looking for jobs that you can easily afford that may be able to take care of some of your admin work. I know we leverage the global workforce in that way for certain
Yeah.
roles. There's no reason why you can't as well. So I'm curious, as your business has expanded, you're bringing people on, you're bringing up some absolute gold for anybody listening to this. How did you stumble into CoachNow? When did you join us, and kind of how has it been? Because I'm always curious when a new sport really takes off, and hockey seems to be really growing for us, and I can see why, but it might not be as obvious to some people why.
Good question. I don't even know how long. Maybe like 3-4 years. Like I said, time. I just kind
Sweet.
of get up and try and do what I do.
Yeah. Sure.
I don't know. In the past, I've had people asking to do like personal video with them, and I could just never wrap my head around how I can get it actually done. Back in the old days when I was playing, it was so hard to get video. Like you had to do like a VHS, or you had to get something on a
Totally.
DVD, and then, okay, how do I get it from this DVD film? How do I get it to something? And it just never made sense to me, or like I was never like technologically proficient enough to kind of figure that out. And then I guess iPhones and iMovie and all of the recording kind of came, and I figured that out. And then I probably just Googled it, or YouTubed it or something. And CoachNow came up, and I looked into it, and I was like, oh, this sounds exactly what I need. Forget who I messaged, if it was you or someone else. And we had a conversation about the platform, and it just sounded perfect. And yeah, it's been, I think I immediately bought like 3 or 4 subscriptions, something like that. And then, yeah, we've kind of never looked back on it.
That's awesome. And as you as your business has evolved, as our technology's evolved, right? I'm curious, especially for those that might be listening in hockey, what would maybe be kind of a CoachNow best practice that you've discovered or adopted, or kind of what's really the thing that's driving the value for you and your team?
I'm big on habits. And so to me, it might not be the answer you're looking for, but it's just like the habit of actually using it. Like you can have the best trainer in
Yeah,
the world. You can have
that's the best advice you could give.
you can have the best nutrition program in the world. You could have,
Yeah.
but you actually have to do it. So for me, it's just a habit to be on there every day and make sure that, we don't have like a rule where you have to reply within this time, but it's like 24 hours, get back within that, get back someone. Sometimes,
Yeah.
it's instant where I get back to someone, but you just actually have to do it. Recently, this year has been the voice notes I've used the most. So I found, and I kind of this is just my years of learning and dealing with stuff. I don't do a lot of emails anymore. Emails just take way too much time, and you can't tell tone, you can't tell, like sarcasm, anything like that. It's just, I found it took way too long for me to like type an email, and you're like, oh, this doesn't sound good. Delete, 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 or like, how's my grammar? Delete, delete, delete. So instead of me, like after I watch a game, if I'm there live or a practice session or whatever it is, instead of me like typing it out, boom, I just voice note it, tell them exactly what I'm seeing or thinking, and then boom, done. It's like a 2-minute voice note that might have been a 20-minute email. And so that's been the best thing for me recently. But I mean, we use all the functions. I love the, what's it called? Annotations. I love all that stuff. How I can voice over everything on there. It's that's all fantastic too.
The voice notes is I'd say an underutilized feature, to be honest, and our power users like yourself see the value. There's a great interview I did with a guy named Matt Scorinch, who's a surfing coach in New Zealand. He uses voice notes constantly. I use them as well because I totally agree. It's a lot, well, one, it's a lot easier. And then 2, you can convey the message with all the tone and the excitement or critiques, whatever you might want to do, but you don't really have to go in and edit it and refine it. You just send it and people get it and they enjoy it. Because a lot of any successful business, as you well know, is just showing that you're paying attention, showing that you care.
Yeah.
let alone helping people to get better. But a lot of it's just showing that you actually care about them.
Yeah. And tone is a bit like, if someone had a
Yeah.
bad game, like it's hard to write that email, hey, it wasn't a very good game today. Like, a lot of the people that are in our program, they take what we say to heart, and it's like, as a coach, you have to let them know that you didn't play very well. But like, when I'm talking to them and they can hear my tone, that's like, hey, get over it. We'll get it next time. Everyone's going to have a bad game, but
Yeah.
you write that down and it doesn't look good, and you don't want to make someone feel like too bad. But yeah, so the voice notes have been awesome this year for me.
So it sounds like Evolution Hockey at its core is mostly focused on junior athletes that then have aspirations to play college and professional. And then you as an individual, maybe some of your coaches individually are working with college players and professionals kind of on the side. Is that kind of the breakdown,
Yeah,
or
well,
is it a little bit different than that?
yeah, we have, I mean, NHL all the way down to grassroots. Um,
Yeah.
the athletes on our CoachNow platform, I think would be, the youngest would be 12 years old.
Yeah.
Um,
Yep.
Oldest would be, I don't even know, 35. So
Nice.
anywhere in between there for CoachNow, but for the
Yeah.
actual, like, our actual program would be as young as 5 all the way up to, well,
Wow.
coaches, however a
Yeah.
coach, however old a coach is, maybe 50 years old. I don't know.
One thing that always comes up, we have coaches always asking us around business models, pricing, how do you structure it? What are you doing? So you can be as open or as vague as you want to be. It's totally fine. But curious kind of how you're structuring the programming that you're then offering to the parents, let's say, and what kind of minimal commitment are you setting up? How often are you meeting with the small group of kids or the individuals? Just anything you can share around the programming and how you structured it financially would be super helpful for people.
That's yeah, tough question. It's like pricing this. We this is all like, this is a value based program, and so it's like the
Mm-hmm.
value that we can associate with this player being able to get feedback from people in our company or myself. Um, so we value ourselves fairly high compared to what a lot of the other people in our industry can do. I shouldn't say high. I should say, like, there's a lot of value associated with what we do. There's people that will charge more. It's also not a cheap program because it does take a lot of time. So, for example, a hockey game is 3 20-minute periods. Um, that's an hour right there. By the time you drive there, there's a flood between each period, which takes roughly 15 minutes. So, like, a hockey game is about 3 hours. By the time you
Wow.
drive there,
Okay.
you're there for the whole game. You do the game. So when you're trying to figure out, okay, like, I could be on the ice coaching for 3 hours, or I could be doing a game for you. So it's not a cheap program, but this is a program where people, they want more value, they want individual feedback. Like, a coach on a hockey team, they might have 17 different kids that they're worried about, plus their parents. So, like, that's a lot of different personalities that
Oh
coach
yeah.
has to try and coordinate. And so the individual feedback that a coach gives is not very high or frequent, if that. And that's not to knock any volunteer coach. They're trying the best that they can. Their jobs are very
They're just
difficult,
surviving in some ways. So I get it. Yeah.
provided, but there's a lot of people out there that have very high goals. That, like, my son or daughter absolutely loves hockey. They are very good at it. They work their ass off at it. Like, how can I do anything that I can to help them get to that next level? They're not getting feedback from the coach. What can we do? And we kind of look at, okay, like, this is what our time is going to be worth. This is um, the amount of games that I'm going to come to. This is the amount of
Mm-hmm.
time that I'm going to see you in a calendar year. This is the overall cost of the program. And you kind of break it down that way. Factor in a little bit of
So are you
gas,
charging
factor in,
are you charging annually or monthly? How do you,
yeah,
just as
so
a blanket
it's an
statement, is it an
annual.
annual?
Yeah,
Cool.
we don't want to have anything that's, um, like, here or there. It just becomes too much
Mm-hmm.
to like handle and have to worry about like the resales of a like, oh, your 2-pack
Totally.
is done. Can you want to do
Oh,
another 2-pack?
hate
Like
that.
you're you're
Yeah.
in or you're out. And here's the year. And we offer payment plans that like whatever you need help with, we'll help you with it. But just this is what our time is going to be worth. And it's not just me on it. We have multiple coaches working. So we might have someone that goes to the game, does a little bit of filming, watches the clips, gives some feedback, and then interacts with me or our other skills coach. So then when that player finishes their game, they might have a session with us a couple days later, and we work on some of those things that they were lacking or whatever it was in their game. And so there's multiple people on this program. We also give them discounts on kind of our smaller group programs. So people get, I think, 25%
Mm-hmm.
off everything because they're going to be in our programs regardless. So we want to give them a deal. And we also have one of the facilities that we work out of, we build in a membership to their
Mm-hmm.
fees. So they can go and they can go to open ice whenever they want. They can go swimming, workout, play tennis, squash. The facility that we run this out of, they have multiple different sports. So we tack on that and to their fees as well. So we try and associate a lot of value to it. And when I was, my degree's in psychology, I have a minor in business. And after a couple of years of being in the gym training guys, I went on and did a mental game certification with Dr. Patrick Cohn out of Florida, knowing
Mm.
that one day I'm going to need this because the mental side of it is just so critical. And so one of the things that we see a lot is like, oh, I'm lacking confidence, or oh, I don't seem to be able to transfer what I can do in practice into a game. And a lot of it is mental. And so this year I've spent a lot of time, whether it's voice notes, talking in person, anything like that with the people that are in our mentorship program, really help strengthening their mental game and bring awareness to their mental game. So there's a lot of different elements. We probably should be charging more than what we're charging, but at the end of the day, like we don't want to price anyone out of this either. Like we want to make sure that um, these people aren't just like, these athletes are great athletes. They're not just someone who can afford it and mom or dad just wants them in it. Like these are all great athletes, and we want to do we care, so we want to do everything that we can to help them get better. But at the same time, like we can't do this for free either. So like generally our mentorship program would be anywhere from like $5,000 to $25,000 a year, depending on,
Yep.
the amount of games, the amount of one-on-ones, the amount of all of that. And ice time as well is an expense in hockey that's probably not similar in like a tennis or golf or soccer or something like that. So ice time's not cheap either.
No, I mean, it's just, yeah, golf, getting on the course costs something. Tennis courts aren't available all the time. So you're exactly right. The model fits pretty much anything. And that's what we advocate for as best as we can, is annual coaching programs.
Yeah.
Because to your point, yeah, do I want to spend the last part of every month trying to make sure you're coming back on for the next thing or selling the next lesson? Absolutely not. What do you want to focus on? Coaching, getting people better. And then when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to the annual review, if you and your team, as you obviously are, using CoachNow, it's pretty easy to point at the progress, point at the communication, go, hey, this is all the things we've accomplished this year. Isn't this great? And then it's pretty much a no-brainer to continue on. And
Mm-hmm.
the word you said a bunch of times, which is so important for anybody that's listening to this, is value. Value, value, value. That is what you lean into. And I can imagine, although you probably don't have to do a lot of sales, as you've said, but kids are coming to you, they're inquiring about the program, or the parents are. You're going to point to the results that a lot of the kids in the program have gotten thus far. You're going to point to how different the coaching and communication style is, the access to the facilities. I mean, there's a long list. If you're just to bullet it out, it's probably a giant list of
Yeah.
value that I got to imagine most people in your field or in your area at least aren't competing with. Like you guys, I'm assuming, stand way out, right? With what you're offering. It's a pretty unique offering.
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah. And it's the it's the same exact offering or packaging that I would recommend any coach do in any sport all around the world. So I'm super happy to hear that you guys are doing that. You found your way into it, obviously through your leadership, which has been really cool. You're looking throughout your career, this is one of the questions I usually like to ask. And maybe because you're mentoring so many new coaches, if we're talking about the business side of things, not necessarily the hockey specific skill sides, because that's so specific, any advice that you might give to a younger self, a younger version of you, or a new coach out there kind of across any sport? You've given some good stuff already, but just kind of curious if anything else stands out that somebody kind of newer in the industry should know about.
Really, it's not that, I don't think it's that complicated. You just got to work hard. And I mean, anyone can say that, but like, you got to be willing to put in the time and the work to get better, regardless of what your paycheck is going to look like. Like, nobody forces me to get up at 4:40 in the morning. It's just something
Right.
I've built the habit of. Like, if I want to continue to get ahead of the competition, if you may, or if I want to continue to get ahead, or if I want to continue to advance myself, I'm going to have to do things that, not a lot of people are willing to do. And if you can aggregate that over weeks, months, years, that's a lot of good stuff that's coming your way. And you have to have good morals and values and just work hard and build good habits for yourself. That would be my best advice. I just like building good habits. Like, what's your day looking like? Like, how much time are you putting into yourself becoming a better coach? And what are the things that you can do to become a better coach? How many coaching conferences are you going to per year? How many books are you reading per year? How often do you do things for free to like just, and I don't want to say like free, like how often are you like just going above and beyond to help somebody get better? And that
Right.
makes you a better coach, and word travels. But if you're just someone who shows up, your session's at 7 o'clock, you show up at 6:55, you get out there, you do your hour session, you're out of there. I mean, it's probably not going to work out for you. So like,
Totally.
what are you willing to do, to be the coach that you want one day?
Well, you're the coach's coach. I can absolutely tell that. And it really shines through not only in this conversation, but just even how you guys are presenting the business as a whole. So that's huge. When it comes to kind of planning your day out, you've got your rhythm and routines, but let's say you're going to be doing some coaching on Monday. Well, let me back up. How many days a week are you coaching? Because I know you're coaching kids, so there's got to be a day or two, maybe Monday, Tuesday, where you're not, and then you're coaching the rest of the week. How does your week lay out?
Yeah, it's kind of different for each season. So in
Okay.
our kind of world, we have 3 seasons: winter, spring, and summer. Um, right now, I'm not on the ice on Tuesdays. I have lighter days right now. Come springtime, it's more condensed days on the ice. So it would be like, instead of doing like a before school session and then an immediately after school session, it might just be all after school. Um, I'd say on average anywhere from 6 to 15 hours of ice a week I would be coaching,
Mm-hmm.
somewhere in around there. Kind of depending on the time of the year. There's times of years where it's really busy. You're on the ice 6-8 hours a day, like right before hockey season. So it is always a little bit different, but it's something that we're trying to get me out of a little bit more, because I need to program and I need to plan a little bit
Yeah.
more, even though like I would rather just be on the ice coaching. Um, that's what really kind of fills up my tanks. But also being able to just get shit done for our coaches, our players, on whether it's on the computer or just sending video, clipping video, things like that. That just makes our
Yeah.
program better. And our managers need my time as well, because they need some direction and they have questions. And I don't say that in a negative way whatsoever, because we need to collaborate and we need to be on the same page. And if things don't run smoothly for that, then at the end of the day, the program suffers for the kids. So it, my time's kind of spread between, those things.
How often are you guys having like an all hands meeting where you're bringing all the coaches, everybody together? Is that something that you guys make a habit of, or is it more kind of smaller meetings and kind of on the fly movements to get things done? Just kind of curious how the management is going for you guys.
It's more so on the fly. I would
Mm-hmm.
love to do. I would love to do more team stuff, like all of us together. But just the way that
Mm-hmm.
hockey season is and our different schedules, and we have some people at this facility, some people at this facility, some people at this school. When Group A is kind of working on the ice, Group B is kind of off the ice, planning, prepping, and then it kind of so it's just
Yeah.
everyone's schedules are so all over the map to fulfill the programs that we're running. It's hard to get everybody together, but we will at the start and end of every season. So end of winter, end of
Mm.
spring, end of summer, we'll all get together. We'll grab some lunch and we'll get some lunch catered in. We'll have like the whole afternoon we'll spend together and just kind of debrief, plan, hang out, talk about what went well, what didn't go well. Our management team is making notes on everything, so that when they're planning the next year's programs, we can decide, okay, these guys went on Monday last year. They didn't like it for these reasons. Tuesday would be better, or whatever the case may be. How can we make our program better? That's what we're always trying to do. But we have like I'm sure like everybody, we have a group text that
Mm-hmm.
we share things on. We might just have a coaches group chat because like our management doesn't need to see like someone's move that they pulled last night. They don't need to see any of that. So we'll just have like little subgroups, and I know our managers meet with kind of each program head. There's no set day like biweekly or monthly that they check in with them and see what we need to adapt or progress or how things are going. I'm not always involved in those. I let our management team kind of lead and head those up. I don't need to micromanage any of that kind of stuff, but yeah, that would be kind of what we do.
Well, I think that's more than most as far as an all hands meeting. It's because that's once a season. You could almost say that's once a quarter in a way. And that's something that I'm always trying to advocate for is at least once a quarter, get your team together, try to figure out what's going on, what's going well, what you can improve, do some forecasting. Even if you're an individual coach, you should be doing that at least a little bit. And then obviously on the fly,
Or
you
if
got to
you're an
stay on top of things.
individual
Yeah.
coach, I would say, sorry, if you're an individual
No,
coach,
go
I would
ahead.
say like if it's the quarter or half year, like what coaching conferences are you going to? Like, how are you getting better? Like, collaborate with other people. If you don't have a team to
Yeah.
do that with, like, you like get out of your comfort zone and knock on some doors or send some emails and say, hey, can I come watch you coach, or can I come learn from you, or what you got going on? Can I come help out or whatever? You're going to pick something up. I guarantee it, whether it's something that you really like. And sometimes it's more important to pick something up that you really don't like. I would never do what this coach does. And I'm glad that I saw it
Mm.
so that I know never to make that mistake. So yeah, like there's not a single coaching thing that I've ever gone to where I haven't come out of there with value.
Yeah. Mentorship, growth mindset, all of these things are so crucial. We advocate it for our athletes often, but a lot of times coaches lose the zest for learning and
Yeah.
improvement and just growing, right? And
Yeah.
you've hit on that a number of times, and it's clear that's why you're so successful because of that. Um, One point that we haven't hit that does come up quite often, and you've mentioned you've got relationships with numerous facilities. One of the common questions is, how do I build a relationship with a facility? What's kind of the exchange? Am I renting? Am I giving them a percentage of the income that I bring? Again, you don't have to speak to numbers, but more just structures. What have you found that maybe didn't work previously and maybe is working really well now, or some of the troubles or successes you've run into when negotiating and building relationships with facilities?
It's been pretty easy for us. Like we just rent. So
Okay.
yeah, we just rent ice contracts, and I mean, again, just being a good person. We get back to people like on time. Like there's no, if we get an email from one of our facilities, like we're on it. We're not waiting a week to get back. Like we're on it, so it's timely. You know, the facility staff, like we treat them like they're a human, like not like not like they're garbage or below us or anything. Like we're just, I think we all handle ourselves like we're good people, and we're part of, you know, something bigger, and we want to treat people with respect. And I think every facility that we're in, I think really enjoys having us there because
Yeah.
we're positive people, and we're there to help people get better. And the other thing is, like, we pay on time or early. Like we make sure you pay your bills. Like
Yeah.
that's critical as well. So any facility, they never have a problem getting their money or anything like that. We're very like, what do you need? We'll pay it. Let's go. And
Yeah.
that's basically it. So I mean, I think it all just comes down to just be a good person. That's really what it comes down to. Be a good person, try and get better, and
Yeah.
really
And
sounds easy.
do those ice contracts, do they boil down to how many kids are on the ice at once, or you're just saying, hey, I've got the ice, I'm going to do whatever I want with it?
No, no, it's always like anyone can go. Like the ice, an hour of ice is anywhere from like $200 to $300. So
Okay.
anyone can just go and book an hour of ice, and so
Got it.
it doesn't matter if you have 400 people on the ice or one person on the ice. It's $200 to $300. Everyone's a little bit different. Time of day is a little bit different, but
Sure.
you know, that's generally what like a prime time ice time would
Hmm.
cost. And so we just
Pretty simple then. Yeah. You don't have to
very
give
simple.
them who's showing up or anything. You just get the ice and go.
No, yeah,
Yeah, that's great. Well, as we kind of get close to wrapping up, as I'm hearing this, as I'm kind of recapping this in my own mind, growth mindset, getting up each and every day, trying to deliver value, annual programming. A lot of your hiring has come from people that you've trained through your system, and then they've gone off and come back, which I think is a real repeatable cycle for a lot of coaches that work with younger athletes that go off and then come back. I think that's really simple and easy. Being a good person, I think, is absolutely uh, as silly as it, or as obvious as it might sound. It does get lost. I can't tell you how many kids I've coached where their previous coach I said, hey, why'd you come to me? Well, my previous coach always made me cry. What?
yeah,
How did you go to more than one thing with this person that made you cry? How long did you see them? Oh, for a year. What? So a lot does get lost, especially in junior athletics, when it comes to just being a decent person.
hmm
It's not that hard, but shockingly, it seemingly is.
hmm
But as we kind of get close to wrapping up, anything that we may have forgotten or that you want to make sure this kind of gets out there to the coaches and trainers that are listening to this, that are, they're at all different levels of career, but just kind of curious if there's anything else we might have left out.
No, I think just, well, you know, love what you do and do it to the best of your ability, and always find ways to get yourself better, because nobody knows everything. And if you have that mindset as a coach, you're going to be able to get more buy-in from whoever it is that you're coaching.
Yeah.
And you never know that what you say to that player or their parent, you never know how big of an impact it may have on whether they come back to you or whether they continue to get better. And so if we're always learning as coaches and able to teach them new things all the time, and being a good person and getting to know your customers really well, a lot of good things can happen. And if you're focused on money, or you're focused on fame or anything like that, you're in coaching for the wrong reasons, and that'll come through and that'll show why you're there. And that's probably a quick reason why people will leave your program.
Great advice. And I think those passing comments that we make to juniors and to their parents, who it might feel very insignificant to us, but can hold a lot of impact. I remember when I was a kid playing, I met a coach who was supposedly this great person. He's like, well, if you're in this position, I've never seen somebody play good from this position. And that stuck with me. And it really ruined me for a while, because I was playing well from that position. So what do you know? So it's really, really important that you take those comments to heart, and you're very serious and thoughtful about how you do it. So really appreciate that.
There's I guess like coaching, like figure out what your coaching style is or your philosophy. Like
Yeah.
I kind of look at it as a continuum, and you could be like a yeller, a teller, a teacher, a collaborator,
Mm,
a facilitator, and kind of figure out where you fall on that continuum. And I feel like where I've started, it was more of like coming in hot of like yelling and telling, like, and then as I started to progress my coaching skills, I'm like way more of just a facilitator and a collaborator now with a lot of the athletes. Because one thing that I think a lot of us have to remember as coaches is that the game is so easy from our chair when you're watching it, but it's the in the moment when they're making these split second decisions and plays and highly technical skills, oftentimes they're probably smarter and better than we are. And we have to remember that they're fantastic athletes and that they have a lot of knowledge and they have a lot of insight. And if we can help guide them, I think that's more important than telling them what to do. And so figuring out like what your coaching style is and what makes you really good. And I think the I don't want to say the quicker, but when you can get to that point where you're more of a teacher, a collaborator, and a facilitator rather than like a yeller or a teller, um, I think you're going to be far better off as a coach, and that's going to help your business as well.
absolutely. And we say it like this here at CoachNow. It's like the difference between directive feedback and calibrative feedback. Because in the beginning of every coaching relationship, there's this direction. They're coming to you for all the advice, right? And they don't really know where to go. But over time, the more that you can empower them and give them what they need to be successful, then you're just kind of calibrating the efforts along the way because they have the baseline understanding and you're calibrating, collaborating, as you've put it, you're facilitating. And once you reach that level, you're also able to have a much larger business because you're not holding the hands of each and every athlete. You're empowering them and then just giving them the feedback that they need to be successful. So yeah, I love the way you put it. And that's the mark of a really, I think, solid coach and a great business too.
Nice, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Riley, this has been awesome. So much gold. I know Emily here and Jerem, who are listening in, probably marked down a lot. So yeah, just thanks again for taking the time. Thanks for being a CoachNow power user, and just really, I'm grateful that we get to support you guys, and I hope that we could continue to do that and help you grow your business and deliver value like you guys are doing so well. So thanks again.
Cool. No, thank you guys. You have an awesome platform and program. Really grateful that it's there for us to use and to help people.